Okay, so the question four, be aware that by this time, Edexcel is really going to be asking you a lot of difficult questions, whether this is the written part or the production part. In this instance, I felt that the removing of the noise in this breath in bar 3 and 18 were relatively easy. So just so that you know how I'm going to be doing this, I'll just go on to bar 18. I didn't really worry about, in this instance, looping anything. Just be aware that you can highlight things, you can cut it out, or what you can do is just reduce this one down like this. I think most students are going to get this. This isn't a very difficult question at all. However, 4F is quite difficult. So in the first instance, what I want you to do is I want you to highlight bars 28 to 31. And as you can see that I've done this here. So in the next instance, what they want you to do is they want you to basically take the main vocal, which is this vocal here, this audio file, and they want you to make a backing track on this. Now, I would suggest this, because the exam board have given you this, this picture of a MIDI transcription, I think that's an indication of what you should probably just follow. So you'll notice that under this, I've already got my MIDI track here. I'm just going to close this down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a track. This is just going to show you how you should do this. So all I'm going to do is the first step is I'm going to go into my instruments and I'm going to drag and drop a sampler onto that blank MIDI track. The sampler has nothing in it, and what you have to do is to grab the sample that you want to play with, grab that and put this into where the drop sample here is. Now just be aware that what they're looking for here is the first syllable. So as you can see here, it says the backing vocal must contain the same as your lead. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into Ableton. I'm going to zoom in. Now this first syllable, which is here, is where I really want to loop. So I'm going to go to my end, and I'm just going to make sure that this loop, let me just zoom in a little bit, is going to be on that first syllable. I think that this is probably it right here. But make sure that you do listen to this on your headphones. So now that I've got this, and you're probably going to get a mark or two for that, what I now want to do is I want to input this rhythm. Now I won't do this within this video, but what you should do is just highlight which bars that you want to add a blank MIDI clip to. In this case, it's bars 28 to 31. Right click inside of the highlight, and you're going to see this insert empty MIDI clip. Click on that, and what you'll see is that this is now a blank clip in here. And now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically input my notes as you can see them on the test here. One thing I will mention is sometimes students get the grid wrong. What you might want to do is just right click inside of this and make sure that you're on 16th. Normally Edexcel don't do anything lower than this, but you might have an exam where that may take place. Okay, so now that I've got my notes inside of my MIDI clip, what I'm now going to do is play around a little bit with my sample. So just be aware that in a sampler, this is going to play on the root of C3. However, like a record player, C3 is just the sample playing at its original pitch. And what you need to do is basically change this root to the same root as in your sample. So they've given you a hint here. This little dot right here is on A. And if you wanted to go back into your audio file, up in here, notice how I put on a tuner, and they're going to be looking for the first note, which is also on A. So essentially what you have to do is go back into your sampler and then just change this root note from C3. Just move this all the way up until it says A, which is right here. Now, sometimes students get this wrong. Sometimes what students do is that they'll move this to the higher octave. Just be aware that the higher the octave, the faster the pitch. And the root note here should be lower, so that's why it's going to be on A3. But just play around with it and just sort of get the idea of this. Right, so now that I've got all my notes right, now that I've got my pitch correct here, this should now play in the pitches that you have on your test. The rhythm is the exact same, the pitches are the exact same. What you now need to make sure of is, this is quite easy, is that the backing vocal is panned hard left. So in Ableton, I'm just going to go over to where the C is, which is center, and I'm just going to move this all the way down to where it says left. And it does say hard left, so just make sure that it's down all the way. One thing I want to mention is that sometimes students get this wrong is this. In my MIDI editor, sometimes students will put in the first like bar or 2 bars, and then essentially what they'll do is they'll repeat this. Notice how that if I do this, I'm going to have these 2 notes here. And those 2 notes, as you can see on this test here, they're not in there. So if you did duplicate this rhythm here would have been wrong. So just make sure that you double check about what your notes are. But essentially, that's how you do any sort of sampling within Ableton.